Hey, so today I want to talk to you about film photography and specifically film photography for wedding photographers. I am someone who learned photography on digital cameras, and when I came to film, I really didn't know where to start. I didn't understand what camera I should be using, what film stocks I should be using, what format I should be using. More than that, I didn't understand how to integrate film into my workflow as a wedding and event photographer. But I knew people wanted film and it was attractive to me. The idea of film was attractive to me. I wanted to be able to offer it as a service. So I searched and searched for guidance on how to shoot film in a way that really fit my workflow and my needs. And I couldn't find anything. It took so long for me to sort of meet the right people who were able to teach me how to shoot in the way that I wanted to. And now, although I know that I have so much to learn about film and I've only really scratched the surface, I'm finally able to create imagery that I'm really, really excited about. And film has a place in my workflow that feels solid, it feels good, and I feel good about offering film as a service and increasing my fee for that service because I know I'm offering a really quality product. In this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on film photography, and I'm also going to tell you how I shoot film practically, what gear I use, what film stocks I use, what lab I use. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. For me, the beauty of film is in the process of shooting film. I really enjoy shooting film as an artist. I just like the process. So that's huge for me. And then the other thing is in the results, which for me, there are two main things. It's the texture of the imagery and the color of the imagery. My philosophy with weddings is to create timeless imagery that's true to life. And so when I shoot film, I want my film to feel elevated, high-end, elegant. I want it to feel timeless and beautiful. I'm not interested in underexposed film or dust and scratches and tons of grain or faded looking images. What I appreciate about shooting film is the beauty of the film stock, the gorgeous colors, the gorgeous texture, which includes grain, but it doesn't take us away from the images themselves. So if you're looking for someone to tell you to shoot expired film or to underexpose it or to scan it yourself so you get a lot of dust in the scans, that's not me. I also don't shoot medium format film. I only shoot 35mm film. So I'm not a photographer who is looking for that light, bright, and airy kind of look. That's not really my style either. Okay, so enough talk. That's so much talk, Zach. So much talk. Let's go ahead and talk about how I shoot film and the equipment that I use to shoot film. I've probably said shoot film an obscene amount of times in this video, so for that, I am deeply sorry. Okay, so I shot my first roll of film on a Canon AE1, which is a camera that a lot of people are probably familiar with. It has a light meter, but it's all manual. So it's a really great camera to learn on. For me, it's less professional. It lets in a lot of light leaks and it sort of creates really interesting filmy effects, which is kind of cool at the beginning. But if you're trying to produce professional work, you probably want something that can create cleaner imagery, more professional imagery, and also has autofocus and is self-winding. So after shooting with an AE1, I eventually invested in a Canon 1V, and I also have a Canon EOS 3. These cameras are really amazing. I'm already in the Canon ecosystem, and so these cameras feel very familiar. If you've ever used a Canon 5D or even a Canon mirrorless camera, these cameras will feel very similar to you. They're professional SLR cameras. They feature autofocus. They have an EF lens mount. They're self-winding. They're very fast, very capable cameras for producing professional work. If you have EF lenses, you can use your whole lineup of lenses with these cameras, which is really amazing. They are 35mm cameras, so they take 35mm film. And the reason that I love them is that they fit perfectly into my workflow and how I take photographs. And so for that, I really love them. And I love being able to use EF lenses with the camera system. The other more professional 35mm camera that I own is a Contax G2. And I have a 45mm f2 Zeiss lens for this system. So this is a rangefinder system, but it has autofocus. So it's not really something like the Leica M6, which is fully manual rangefinder camera. The Contax G2 is really easy to use, and there are a few reasons why I love it. The main one is that it's just a small system. On a wedding day, I typically attach it to the center of my dual harness, so it sits here on my chest, and it doesn't weigh that much, so I can have two digital cameras, one on either side, the Contax G2 here in the center, and not feel like I'm being pulled down by so much weight of cameras. It's still a lot of cameras to have on you on a wedding day, but the main reason for the G2 is just the size. It's just really a compact camera. On top of that, it's really easy to use. It has autofocus, and the 45mm f2 lens is really, really beautiful. So I've really enjoyed this camera. And then the final film cameras that I have are point and shoots. I have a Yashica T4 and a Contax T2. These are really easy cameras to use. You just put in the film. They're both 35mm film cameras. You put in the film and you take pictures. The Yashica T4 particularly is really very simple. With the Contax, you can have more control over your experience. I actually don't have the Contax with me right now because it's having some sort of issue. These cameras are known to break, so I actually did have to send my Contax back to KEH, which is where I bought it not too long ago, and it's being fixed right now, so I don't actually have it in my hands, but it's a really beautiful little point and shoot camera. But if you're looking for something like cheaper and more robust in a lot of ways, just in the sense of like build, it's not going to break on you, then look into the Yashica T4. It's a great little point and shoot camera. Okay, so that's basically an overview of the equipment that I use. That's just the beginning. So the next two steps are equally as important. The first one is deciding what film stock to shoot with. So there's a lot of options, and I've only scratched the surface. This is true with many facets of shooting film for me. I've only scratched the surface, so I know there's a lot I don't know. I understand that, but these are the film stocks that I usually use that I really love. The number one used film stock is Portra 400. It's just a really beautiful film stock. It's a higher end film stock from Kodak. Beautiful skin tones, beautiful colors. The 400 speed is versatile. Really love this. It's my go-to film stock. I also shoot Portra 800. Colors of Portra 800 differ slightly from 400. They can sometimes feel a little bit more stylized to me. So I'll often prefer Portra 400, but I like 800 because it offers that extra light capability for shooting in dim environments or towards the end of a day, so it can be really versatile. I also have shot Portra 160 for really bright days, or if I'm shooting on the beach midday. If I have a lot of light to work with, having lower ISO film stocks are great. Ektar 100 is another film stock that I really like. For bright environments. I'll also shoot Kodak Gold on occasion. Kodak Gold can produce really, really beautiful results. As far as black and white film goes, I really love Tri-X 400 and Delta 3200, but I honestly don't shoot much black and white film at all. I said I didn't shoot any medium format cameras, but that's kind of a lie. I actually just picked up a Holga toy camera, which is just a plastic camera you can buy for like $50, sometimes less, and that actually shoots 120 film, but it's more of a stylized type of camera system that creates really vibey, interesting images, and I just got that a few days ago, so I actually sent off my first 3 rolls to be developed today, and I haven't seen the results yet, but I'm really excited to check out the results from that camera. This is definitely a way to add that creative, more retro looking film into a gallery. So if you do want film with potentially light leaks, with sort of distortions and weird quirks that you couldn't otherwise get, this is a great way to do that in a really inexpensive camera system. Okay, so those are the film stocks that I use. Now, a couple other things we need to talk about are how to expose the film properly and how to develop the film. So when we're exposing film, one thing to know is film likes light. So it's good to overexpose film, if anything. We definitely don't want to underexpose film, but you can overexpose film. So typically when I'm shooting film, I will meter for the shadows. Just as an example, if we're shooting a couple with a bright sky behind them. I live in Santa Barbara. I often shoot on the bluffs. So we have couple, bluffs, beautiful ocean, sky in the background. So if you meter for the couple with the sky right behind them, oftentimes the camera will tell you to underexpose your image because it's metering for that really bright sky. So a way to avoid this is to use a handheld light meter and take a reading for the subject and expose properly that way. I sort of get around this by just sort of pointing my camera at their feet, taking a reading from the light on the ground, basically in front of them, before reframing to capture the frame that I want to capture. That way I know that my camera is not metering for this really bright sky, and I'm going to end up with an underexposed couple because they're not as bright as the sky that's behind them, if that makes sense. So metering and exposing properly is really important when it comes to film and understanding how to meter for film. You want to meter for the light that's on your subject, not the light that might be in the scene, but that's really bright and will cause your camera to underexpose the scene. You want to meter for your subject. The other thing that goes hand in hand with this is when we put the film in the camera, my professional Canon cameras know what ISO the film is, that knows what speed the film is. So if I put Portra 400 in my Canon 1V, the 1V will know this is Portra 400. And so the light meter inside the camera will know that I'm shooting with Portra 400 film, and it will expose for that film. I just put the film in the camera and shoot the film at the box speed. So I put Portra 400 in my camera and let the camera read the film as 400, and I shoot the film as 400. This has worked really well for me, so I don't change anything there. I don't push my film, I don't pull my film. Pushing and pulling is more of a process for the development of film, so you have to notify your lab if you're pushing or pulling your film, and it's a way to get more latitude out of your film when you're shooting it. Photographers will also push or pull film for stylistic reasons. I don't do it, I just shoot the film at box speed and have my lab develop it as shot. Okay, so if you're still with me, thank you so much for following along. We're almost to the end. Now I'm going to give you the secret to developing and scanning film. So this is another really important part of the process, and it's why it's so hard. It's finding a good lab. There are lots of options for labs these days, and some of them are really popular, made popular by social media influencers and things like this. I think it's really important to find a lab that is decently priced, reliable, and has a decently quick turnaround. Those are things that are really important to me. The lab that I've been using for a while now is called the Find Lab, and it's a lab in Utah. I really, really love the work that the Find Lab does. They're great people, really, really good at what they do. They're fast, they're affordable. I've been super happy with the results that they offer. Essentially, this is how it works. You go to the Find Lab's website and you create an order. And so what I will typically do is order standard scans. So I'll order standard film scans, 35 millimeter film scans. I keep all of the settings the same. It's mostly neutral settings. I have them scan my film with a Noritsu scanner. I have them send me the negatives after 90 days. It's really simple. I basically keep everything the same. Noritsu scanner, 35 millimeter, film negatives after 90 days, and that's it. When I'm ready to send my film, I put all of my exposed film rolls into a Ziploc plastic bag. I put that in a USPS priority mail box. It's the small box. It comes with a flat rate of about $10 US. So I'll put my film in a Ziploc bag in that box. I'll print my order for that film development and scan in the box with the film. I'll tape it up, take it to the post office, cost me about $10, and I'll send that off to Utah. I live in California, so it usually gets there within a few days, and then I have my scans probably a week usually after the lab receives the film. They send me a link by WeTransfer, and I download all the scans from there. So it's a really, really sort of simple, easy process once you get the hang of it. Look, I know there's a lot that goes into shooting film. This is a long video, but I hope if film is completely new to you, that this is starting to help you feel like you can get a handle on what shooting film might be like. The only other part of this process would be editing the film scans after they've been received. I do edit my film scans, and typically I'll just adjust exposure, contrast, and white balance. That's usually all I have to do after I receive the negatives from the Find Lab. After that, I just export them as high resolution and I add them to a separate folder in my client's gallery. And usually the film scans are some of my favorite from the entire wedding or the entire session, just because they're unique and beautiful and timeless. And they really do stand apart from the digital images because of the color and the texture. They're just really unique and special. So film is definitely a process. It's an investment, but it is something that has benefited my business and has also had a positive impact on my artistic practice. So for me, it's more than worth it. I really think that it's important to many of my clients that I shoot film. It's sort of like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, one of those non-negotiable like check boxes that a photographer has to check in order to meet their needs. And so for me, it couldn't be more worth it to include film in my workflow. Okay, I hope that this video has been informative. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. That really helps me out. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to see you at the next video. If you have questions about film photography, please leave them down below in the comments. I'm sure there's something I missed in this video, so I'm happy to address it in the comments. If you have questions, leave them below. We can get conversations started. That's what these videos are for. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.